Craig Brain is not your brain or my brain. Love it or hate it or something in between. Welcome to the squishy, alien middle inside of this dude's skull. Take a peek. Take a peek.
Hey, welcome to Craig Brain. This week, I've got a fun guest on the show. I actually didn't record it in this closet studio. I recorded it at my house. So if you're watching it or listening to it, yeah, maybe the audio is not as good, but because this one's nice, this fancy microphone. But on this episode, I talk about it's better to give than to receive, and talked about bucket lists. And I put it in the marriage and making it section. It could have been in family. And there are a lot of these entries as Levi and I were working on, and we're like, oh, where do they go? And so it's just like, yeah, throw it in there. Because I would say whether I do something or Jeanette does something or it's me and one of the kids, it's just, man, trying to involve our family in things that matter. And so one of our gross goods that we've talked about is money, is like trying to be good with and teach our family about being good with money. And I think one of the ways that you can be good with money is by not holding on to it, sharing it, giving it. And like people have done that, like to me. And those things have changed my life from somebody, helping just unheard of things that have happened. I mean, I've raised money for 20 years of a ministry, and I've had to ask people for money all the time. Then you get people that are just give you things or say, hey, I want to, support you this way. And you're just like, why would somebody do that? And then, one year my dad gets a bucket list trip from his brother that says, go anywhere you want with the family. And when things like that happen to me, once again, my mind's kind of wired to like, I can't wait to do that for somebody. How am I ever going to do that for somebody? And now I start seeing like, here's how we're able to do those things. So to me, this one wasn't about like, hey, come on this podcast, Neil, and talk about like me, what I gave you. That was like the easy part. Like the hard stuff's like, hey, what that trip is now going to do and how that's going to change your relationship with your dad and what's going to come from that. And so for me, like, once again, if I experience something, whether that was how we love or some of these other things we talk about, it's like, oh, cool. I'm just going to tell you about that experience and hope maybe that lands the same way as you. Even on this cannabis stuff, people are like, oh, you're so fired up about this. It's like, I've taken it and I don't have the same results. Okay, maybe try a different thing. Oh, you're just watching TV and eating pizza with it. Hey, I'm doing something way different. Not saying that's not judging you on that, because that's fine if that's all you want to do with it. But man, I've experienced a lot of this Craig Brain stuff, these journals, these entries, these writings, the life that I'm now living. That's played a part in that. And so this exact, experience, like, and then on the entry, I write about, I don't even know now which ones kind of made the cut, on just some fun experiences that we've been able to have and then we've been able to share with each other, with other people. And sometimes they're the most random things that I've found, like, wait, why are we supposed to do that? I think whether you want to call it energy, whether you want to say that's the spirit, whether you want to, say that's the Lord, I don't know how you, when you hear things. But like, I go to an $8 barber. I was going to a $30, but like this haircut, come on, like, you just shave it around, do a fade. Tristan, you're like, what do you pay, Tristan? $32. Yeah, $32. I've seen your hair. So you $8. Nolan went to the $8 barber. He was so pissed at me the other day because he's just like, Dad, they suck. Been there. It's $8. Like, that's like, I don't know how they do it. It's a volume play. And so I found out the owner, and the owner was like, wait, that's the owner? Yeah, and he's working hard. Like, he's there all the time. I haven't done this one yet, but I'm recording it, so I do it. He was talking to a lady once about her kids, and they all had Nikes on. And he said, oh, all 3 boys have Nikes. And she's like, yeah. And he's like, I wish I could afford Nikes. And I looked at his shoes, and he had like these like beat up Skechers. And so I was like, that's not me. I don't even know the guy. He's actually never even cut my hair. But I like heard so clearly, like, buy him a pair of Nikes. And I was like, so I finally was in there like this week. So I gotta get clean for the podcast. And I was gonna ask the lady for his size, but instead I was like, that's stupid. I'm just gonna do it on a gift card. And it's like, all right, so I gotta bring it by. And I gotta I don't want him to be there because it's like, he doesn't know me. And then I was like, why am I buying this guy Nikes? But I told Jeanette that. I was like, hey, I gotta buy this guy Nikes. I don't know. That's not me. That's not me wanting to do this from it. It's just like, oh, realize that, connect that. Oh, the Lord said, hey, buy him a pair of Nikes. Sometimes like things like that just hit me where you're like, we're sitting there with our friends and I found out she's a Steelers fan and her dad's dying. We know her dad's dying and just lost her mom. And it was like, wait, you've never been to a Steelers game? You've never been to Heinz Field? Like that's not that hard of a trip to put together for somebody. It's not like, oh, I've never been to, the Eiffel Tower or I've never been to the Super Bowl. That's a little bigger, a little harder ticket. Steelers? And I remember I was just like, dude, we got to do that. Like that'd be so rad to do that for somebody. And so when those things hit me, I don't know. I don't even think that's sometimes me being generous. It's most of the time me responding to something that's like, hey, you could do that. And, the only reason I think maybe that's done is because people have done that for me. And so you're like, okay, that's cool. Like somebody gave me a bucket list trip to the Super Bowl with my dad and Nolan. And it was just like, this is incredible. And so when the playoffs rolled around and, I'd met Neil and his wife back in January of that year. And so it was just like 6 months. It was actually Nolan's idea. And so now that's what's the fun part when we're at an airport and we're talking about the Raptors are in the championships. Like that's never going to happen again. Like let's just be clear on that, Neil. If you're watching this one, it's not going to happen. You're not going to be alive for that to happen again. It's not going to happen. So it was like that's happening. And I remember Nolan saying we should get Neil the Jordan Drake Raptor shoes or whatever. And then it was like. But he was thinking about him and the excitement about the game. And it was like, dude, we should send him the game. And so that's what we did. But what's come of that is way radder than Craig bought you a ticket. No, it's like sports is an easy way for men to relate and to bond and to connect. I know that. And so I know if this, was my wife and talking about her friends, it wouldn't probably be something around sports. But man, relationships with your dad, that means a lot. To me, I talk about that a lot. And so when I see some opportunities like that, it was just no brainer. So anyways, Neil was over for a couple weeks working on a project with us. And I just said, hey, let's record this podcast, talk about the game, talk about just a bucket list. And if you don't have a bucket list, and I wouldn't even say that was a bucket list for him. It probably was. But then again, growing up in Toronto, you don't actually ever think maybe if it's the Maple Leafs, but my team's going to make the championship. But I also think that so many people don't write down things on their bucket list. We talked about that just with Nolan's bucket list. So for my kids, and family, I want you to shoot for the stars. I want you to dream big for yourself and for others. And so whether that's your own bucket list or whether that's somebody else, then being a part of each other's stories, that's the fun part. So Neil Jolly on the podcast, we'll cut right now. I'm like, what's the first thing I should say? What's up, Neil? How was the swim lesson today?
The swim lesson was pretty good. Yeah, pretty good. Not a good swimmer at all. But, you got me a little float in there and, doggy paddle.
Yeah. You're wearing a Raptors championship hat. So yeah. I wanted to see that same championship attitude in the pool today.
Yeah, no, definitely not a winner in the pool today, but a winner right here with that hat on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rocking the whole championship gear all summer. Let's go Raptors. We the North.
But we in LA right now, and it was fun because you guys been here a couple weeks, and you got to see Kawhi announced as a Clipper.
Yeah, which was really, I'm a Kawhi fan, but yes, it's different. It was a little disappointing to see him leave, but the Raptors are champions. He gave the chip to the city, so
yeah. So are they still going to say "We the North" when it's like "We the North" at the bottom of the leagues? Like, is that like the very bottom? Like, are we still going to chant that?
No, it's a great marketing campaign. It's pretty cool that it's. I mean, it's been "We the North" for a while, and as long as there's the Raptors are the only team in Canada, it's going to be "We the North" always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. If we, we're talking about swimming, but what?
Yeah.
So childhood.
Yeah.
Because Jeanette, she didn't know how to swim until she's 40. And she's like, oh, we lived in Portland. Like, it was cold. Like, Toronto's cold, but it's warm now, right?
Oh, yeah.
But, like,
it's hot. Toronto's just like New York weather. So, whatever New York gets, just, minus a couple of temperature, a couple notches, but we get what New York gets.
So, was the family, so as a kid, you didn't do things like?
No.
Like, did you play sports?
Yeah, so sports, all the sports growing up, soccer, hockey, basketball, so very active growing up. But when it came to swimming and just, the beach, water in general, just my family we didn't get that memo. So I didn't grow up learning how to swim. We never really spent much time in terms of, going on the beach or by pools. So, it's pretty funny when Jeanette said that too, that, learning a little later in her age with swimming, I'm kind of trying to learn myself right now.
Yeah. So I was just curious, because we're going to talk about dads on this episode.
Yeah.
Dad's bucket list. I don't have it in front of me, but I actually just sent you the draft of the document. And since you're here, we're like, hey, let's talk about it. But talking about to me, like, was a Raptor, I say bucket list, but let's be honest, did you ever really even think the Raptors are going to be in a championship game? So does that even make a bucket list? Because I never...
Yeah, because I guess it has to be a possibility before you even put it down as a bucket list item or something. But I guess, you know what, like
had you ever thought of that idea?
That moment?
No, like going to, like one day I'll go to a championship game and watch, like...
maybe for the Toronto Maple Leafs, but for the Raptors, for the longest time, it just felt like every superstar would leave, So no, I never really pictured that moment or had that moment in my mind. But man, I had the feeling of being a part of it. Just is incredible now that I was a part of it. So.
Yeah, and that's the fun part. I think for me, like, I talked about if you read this, my dad's brother giving our family a bucket list vacation.
Yeah.
And it was such a weird season in our family, and kind of a division in the family, and my mom and dad had separated, and I remember like people were just like, we're not going with you.
Yeah.
And the year before, like, I got to watch the Packers win the Super Bowl, which was just, I remember even trying to explain that to my wife, and she's like, wait, you're going to go to the game by yourself? I was like, yeah, but in a bunch of green and yellow and make best friends. I'm like, no, I'm going with, Ryan Pickett at the time was playing for the Packers, and, I had seats next to his parents and his whole family. But like that night of like, if your team makes it to the Super Bowl, because I'm probably the biggest football fan out of all the sports, but then there's a party afterwards.
Yeah.
And then, it was the players, I held the trophy that they all kissed.
Oh,
and then you're up all night, and then it was just one of the wildest things.
Yeah.
And just the fact of, like, opposed to all these other sports, like, there's just one game. And so the NFL does a great job of just the atmosphere, just everything about it. And so when my dad got that letter on Christmas, the 49ers, which are his favorite team, were looking pretty good. That was Kaepernick era. And it was like, Dad, the Super Bowl is like, and my dad's, it's probably why I love football now, but he's such it's football, like, loves it. So it was like, once you go to the Super Bowl for me, and I found, maybe it's not like a lot, everybody, but if I experience something really great, it's not that I'm even, generous, I think but I want other people to experience, like, dude, you gotta go. Dad, like, if you haven't been to the Super Bowl, who gets to go to the Super Bowl? So for me, like, my dad, my son Nolan, and myself, and then my adopted brother, we all went to the game, second row. It was Tom Brady, which then again, none of us were fans. He lost. I got to see a Tom Brady lose the Super Bowl. Like, you don't get to see that often. But with my dad, right? And it was one of those, like, I can't even tell people I've gone to the Super Bowl like back-to-back years. And it was, but both of them were just, kind of epic experiences. And I always had just kind of said and hoped, like, because I think sports, and especially dads and sons, there's such a connection that it'd be rad to do that. And it's fun because this past year we got to send actually a daughter and her dad to a Steelers game, not the Super Bowl, because all their problems, they're not going to make the Super Bowl anytime soon. But and just seeing even that, where you're just like, man, it's such so obviously we've known you since beginning of the year, and man, when the Raptors were getting in, I mean, I'm seeing it on your post, I'm hearing you talk about it, you're sending me Voxers.
Yeah.
You actually thought they had a chance.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Coming out of the East, like if we're talking about the Raptors specifically, I thought they had a great chance, but it's like the championship was just, it's always been like, if we get there, even just the finals would be incredible to just see. Even if they didn't win, the finals would feel like it was a win to just get there. But as everybody just started to rally behind the Raptors, the whole city, it just started to become how you kind of described it. Oh my gosh, if this happens, this is going to be a bucket list moment, to just be a part of.
No, during that, first round, second round, what's you and your dad? Are you guys talking about the games at that point?
Yeah,
are you watching them together, or
we're
are you
talking about them, and we would get on the phone, and my dad and I, we usually, as we break the ice with just conversation, it would be sports, and so we'd just be like, oh, what did you think about the game last night? So and so, and. My dad's more on the pessimist side, so he's already thinking, oh, they lost it. The series is over. Milwaukee's going to win. No. Oh, the Sixers? Forget it. That lucky bounce, Kawhi. But I think when we started getting, my dad specifically really started getting into, the spirit of the playoffs and the Raptors was when Kawhi hit that shot. Mr. Fun Guy here.
Yeah. Compliments of my friend.
Yes. Yeah. Well, it's just a
fun guy.
Yeah. Just to break that thought for a second. This shirt is Fun Guy because he's the original Fun Guy. I think when I think about fun and Craig, I think about fun. So had to get him that shirt. Yeah. But yeah, it was just that Kawhi, that bounce, that shot, and then after that, we started talking about it, and man, when they made the finals. I mean, we were all ecstatic for sure.
All right, so just walk me through that. So you take your dad to the finals.
Yeah.
And so for us, like it was just even Nolan and I were traveling somewhere that day, and right when they made it, and his mind went to shoes.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, wouldn't it be awesome if we could get him these? What are they? Just Drake or no? It's the Raptors.
Yeah, I think he was saying the Raptor. Yeah, the Raptor. There you go.
The Raptor 4s.
The Raptor
and then
4s.
He's like, no, that's not Neil's style. And then, dude, they win, and it's like.
Yeah.
Nike'd out. Like, J. Crew went away.
J. Crew
the Neat Fit went away. Yeah. It's been had all summer. But
yes.
So then when we were just like, oh, yeah. And then we, I know a little bit about your story with your dad, a lot similar to me.
Yeah.
And so you call your dad and tell him. Like, walk me through that.
Oh, my gosh. Well, if I can share how this even went down. When Craig just gave me a call one day and was just like, Nolan had this idea, kind of what you just shared about the shoes, but then you were like, got you tickets. And my jaw just dropped. And I know Craig and, your generosity, but I'd never experienced or had anybody do something like that for me. And I just was like, I don't know what to do with this. Like, well, what's happening? And then when you said, go call your dad right now and tell him he's going to the game, I was just like, okay, like this is happening. We're going to call my dad. So I call my dad. And the funny story about all of this is just, he picks up the phone and he's just apparently in the middle of putting cream on my mom's back and has got Q-tips in his ear. So when he hears this news, he's just losing it too on the other side going, what? Where are we going? What are we doing? And I'm like, this is what's going to happen. So, man, just that moment of hearing his excitement too, my excitement, and just this hype leading into the game, which was game one. And really, if there's any way to describe just the atmosphere of that game, it was the loudest building I've ever been in. Just high fives everywhere, people giving each other Drake's shoulder rubs. And just to see my dad in that atmosphere, like I've taken my dad to games, and growing up, my dad would be like, we're going to go to a game. We're going to go to a game. And then, something always came up, and, he worked a lot to provide for the family. And, in terms of just sports, we would then just catch the game on the TV when we'd just hang out growing up. But I was just like, the minute I can start, making money and, past my teenage years, I'm going to start taking him to games. So that's the way we started to bond was sports. And then, just to go to game one and see his joy and see that moment and them win was just unbeliable.
I was hoping, because I'm a Warriors fan. That was actually my dad's favorite team, and I'm on the bandwagon, Nolan. Yes, I'm on the bandwagon for a couple years now, but maybe I need to get off it now, because. But I was like, no, they don't stand a chance. But I really hope they just take game one just for the experience. They're not going to win the series. It was just one of those. But then, as like the Warriors fell apart, you're like, okay, this is crazy.
Yeah.
But like you. After the game. Like, that's where I just go, oh, it's just obviously an epic night.
Absolutely.
But then, just kind of what happens the rest of the series, which I think, like, the two things for me, which is the most fun, not just, like, there's always the experience. And I think whether you send somebody to, a preseason game, like when I met a girl whose mom had just passed away, and said, it's a bucket list to go to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And it was like, Pittsburgh, like, okay, it's just, that's not the Super Bowl, that's not this epic thing. It was just like, man, these are easy things. And I found a lot of times people never voice it, they never share, like, oh, I'd love to do this, and you got to put it out there, and then if somebody hears it, they're like, oh, that's easy. But for me, it's like, how's the experience? And I always always want to see pictures, and then just, I remember the first time we did this, my wife's like, oh, would you want to go with them? I'm like, no, this isn't about me. I would, but it's about them. But then it's always like, what happens after? And there's just two things. And that's what I wanted. I was like, hey, share that. What you said you were encouraged to do after, and then just what happened with your dad. And if we could get a good game, my dude, that would be awesome.
Yeah. No, just look, the game one, I feel like just that experience, it just brought my dad and I closer. And I mentioned it a little earlier, just the way we bonded again was through sports, kind of how you described even your relationship with your dad. And it just kind of, I don't know how to describe it other than kind of transforming just this dynamic, which was just like, let's bond off sports, let's hang, this is great, but can't wait to catch the next game with you now. And so what ended up happening for the rest of the series was we watched every game except one. So there was a 6-game series, so we watched 5 of them together. He just had a commitment that he couldn't get out of, but we watched the rest of the series together. We made an effort to book that night out, do a barbecue, or had them over at our place, and it was just really, really cool to experience. And then when they finally won, my wife Steph had posted that on Instagram, and again, that's just, a moment that I'll never forget. Just that embrace, the hug, the laughter, the joy, popping a little champagne after and just celebrating. But just, the weeks that followed was just like, it was really beyond just my dad and I. Steph got into it. It was like the whole family. I was buying T-shirts for everybody, and before it was just like, all right, I'll get my gear and buy my hat. But now I gotta get Steph one. I gotta get my dad one, and it was so cool to see even just our whole family get in a room, watch the game together. Talk about things that otherwise we wouldn't get a chance to talk about because not all of us maybe are in the room at the same time. But it was special. It was really, really special.
Yeah, you posted something, that photo from, didn't you say your dad was like, he asked you like, or something about framing it, or just you posted like that, that photo, and it was like, we're just watching this through Instagram stories, but it was just like I screenshotted it because I was like, dude, that's like just seeing. I mean, it's not behind me because it's in storage because where we're living right now. But it's me and my dad at Candlestick Field, like him in a wheelchair. But I'm like, we're getting out of the field and taking this photo. And there's a painting, and it was like, you want like that memory. It's the last game I ever went to with my dad, and that's why. Seeing you there, I'm like, oh man, it's I said I was so jealous, not of the game, but like I can't go
Yeah.
My dad's not here, but yeah, it was just rad. But then then you right away, this man, whose man's says, dude, I can't wait to do that for somebody else.
Yeah.
Because it's like, that's the part where I'm like, yeah, like this is what it's like, contagious.
It is. It really is. I came back home. I told Steph, I was like, I don't know, like that experience in itself was just, it's something I know I'll cherish with my dad forever. I don't know when, but when I see it again, and if I see somebody and their dad or their mother or their sibling, and I can bless that and just pay this forward, man, I can't wait to do that for somebody and just pay it forward. And that experience, like I've said, when I sent it to you, even you've just mentioned it, the photo, my dad and I are sitting there, and he's in the backyard, and he just turns the phone to Steph and goes, "This photo I love." And it was a photo of him and I, just arms around each other. And I'd posted it on my Instagram stories and just wrote a little, my dad and I bonded through sports, game 1, Raptors win kind of thing, little caption. He had saved that on his phone, screenshotted it, and said, "I want to print this and put it in a frame." And I was like, wow, like that's such a sweet moment. And man, I can't wait to do that for somebody in the future.
No, it's yeah, and for me, it's like, gosh, people have been super generous with us. Like things, I mean, like my uncle sending me and my dad on an epic place. I watched my uncle early on as a kid just do some amazing things for my dad. And, people, I've been in a ministry for 19 years where I've had to ask people for money. And it's still probably the hardest thing. I don't do it well because I don't like it. And it's just, I'd rather go like earn it. And it's hard to receive just something for free without doing anything. And not doing anything, I mean, we're doing a lot, but like we need your help. And it's like a super humbling thing. And it's also like a reminder of like, none of this is ours. And so for me, like, yeah, I'm excited even too about getting, like a friend of mine said, like, that's just, you must have needed a lot of lessons in this to be at it for this long. Because I was like, gosh, I'm excited about a new company that I'm starting that's not a nonprofit where I can go make money. My wife said the other day, like, gosh, we're going to know what it's like when people ask, how hard that is. And be able to just, do things like this. And so it's not, I don't know, I wanted you to hear it because it's contagious. And this, man, just paying this stuff forward. And anyways. Dude, you could get that printed for such a time as this. Like, could that be a print?
Just or shop.
Or do you guys do custom prints? Or you do?
I mean, I might have to ask Steph, spice it up, a little typography, and put that. But that photo is worthy of being framed, and maybe we'll make that happen. Yeah, for sure.
And I think it's also fun, like when you do things like. Gosh, you all have friends, hopefully, if you're watching or listening to this. If you don't, like, I mean, there's Facebook. You can find them there, like MySpace. But I think as friends, it's like, I don't know. I hate what's arguing over who's paying for this or that, or just, well, you did this and now, well, you owe me for those tickets. Like, I mean, that's just dumb. But I think as you get to know each other and just, I mean, even before I did that, for Neil, I had played him just a song of Nolan's, and he got super excited about. Nolan's looking at me, dude, this is like 20 weeks away. They're gonna know there's a song by then. I know, it's like there's a song and there's a video. Yeah, we're gonna. And then Neil listens to it, and then shoots videos, shoots all this content for his stuff, and he's like, I want to shoot. I could shoot this video, and he started talking to Nolan. I mean, they just made. Like, my tickets are nothing compared to, like, what... Not even I got that back. Because to me, I don't even look at... we got a video. You got tickets. Okay, nice to meet you. Fun guy. It's like, we got friends, and that's what you do. And now you're here with our family, and it's like... I'm wearing a Fun Guy shirt. And, like... it's just... Anyways, hopefully it encourages you, if you're watching, listening, reading, that... man, paying stuff forward, and
Yeah.
sharing what you would love to do and not going, oh, it never happened. It's like, yeah, things happen, like crazy stuff. Like I've seen crazy things happen.
Yeah.
And then when you get to be a part of those things, like one of my best friends that got to go to the World Series and Neil going to the NBA championships, like I could care less about baseball. But when your friend's there and you get to see him with his dad and his son, and you're like, dude, this is way better. And I know we say that in the Bible, like it's better to give than to receive, but it's truly like when something means that much to somebody, or even if it's not even a bucket list, it's like, man, that could change a relationship, like one sporting game, or that could open up things that you never knew. Man, that's fun guy talking here.
That's a fun guy talk.
You got anything else?
No, I mean,
could we just do a quick Canadians?
Yeah.
Can we apologize for anything you've spoken?
I mean, I'm sorry if I offended anybody.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Sorry about the Raptors winning, but no, I mean, it's been really special. Even I know you just mentioned Nolan, but it's been just really special just hanging with your family. Past couple of weeks, the stuff that we've created is really special. Nolan is just incredible to work with, but it's been really special. Just our friendship and just working together, but just all from a few months of just what's cultivated and the creativity that's behind Nolan. I'm so excited to be a part of, and just doing things as friends and seeing the excitement. And Nolan, and I'm sure if you're watching this, we'll put a link in description with his songs.
Video director Neil Jolly is where you can find him at
Exactly.
Neil Jolly. That will go. We'll put it on your shirt.
Yeah, we should just broadcast it right there. But
look for him. And if you're ever in Canada, Toronto, him and Drake. Do you know Drake? Do you see him much? Somebody asked him that.
That's the funniest thing.
And they love Target.
Asked.
These Canadians. I mean, his wife's over there. She's not. Target tonight. One last time before they leave. All right.
Yeah, Target one more time. But to finish that thought, it's been really sweet to be around you guys. And if you know anything about Craig, super generous, super fun guy, which is perfect. And it's funny because you call your podcast Craig Brain. And for the time that I've known Craig, since really January, but getting to know you more since May, I've known Craig as Craig Hart. So maybe you changed your podcast name.
Yeah, well, maybe that's next season.
Yeah.
I think we're bringing this one to a close.
Yeah.
Craig Brain, a close. This brain's shutting off. But thanks for listening, watching.
Yes.
Be back next time without a Canadian.
Thanks for thinking through Craig Brain. This podcast is only a small summarized part of a larger conversation. To read the full story, check out www.craigbrain.com and follow @Craig Gross on whatever social suits your fancy.